And welcome back to another edition of Post to Post. I am The Rob from 106.1 KISS FM here with my tag team partner in podcasting. My pleasure to introduce Mr. Jerry Valeri coming to you from State College, Pennsylvania. How's it going, Jer?
It is going really well over here in Viperville, Pennsylvania.
I think we're both broadcasting from Viperville. They are trying to get that over. I don't think I would have noticed it as much if you didn't nail it last week by saying that was definitely the Randy Orton's new catchphrase.
They were shoving it down our throats, but you know what? Shame on me because they know more than I do. It's working. I mean, people were chanting it by the end of Raw.
Yeah, I guess I didn't notice the chanting as much as him trying to get it over by pointing to the words on the back of his shirt. I feel like it's not happening organically, but you think it might be?
Well, I think so. Well, the words on the back of his shirt says "out of nowhere," and I mean, if you just want to jump to the end of the show, I mean, that was out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you know what? Let's save that since that was the end of the show. Why don't we just go ahead and start at the top? I took some notes from the show.
Go for it.
Actually, a lot of my notes were positive from last night's show. The biggest negative to me is still the keeping my attention for the 3 hours. Is they're failing with that. I can't do it without wanting to pick up my phone and either social media or catch a Pokemon or go up and get some food, make some dinner. Like I'll almost save that cooking process for Raw because they need to keep me for 3 hours and it's just so much time to fill. That's still their biggest negative in my opinion, even in this new era.
And to be fair, that's how I am when I watch a football game. Like, I'm into the Steelers, but I don't get through a Steelers game without getting a little bit bored or looking and catching Pokemon or looking on my phone, things like that. This show would be so great if they had cut an hour of filler out.
Right, that's what I'm saying, because a Steelers game, you can't chop an hour off of that.
You could, but they should.
Raw, though, we're kind of accustomed to, the 2 hours, and then they bump it up to 3, and I still have not really ever liked it in the 3 hour zone. I've always preferred it as a 2 hour show.
I agree with you, but I don't think it's ever going to change while Vince McMahon's heart still beats. So what I'll say is, and you may disagree, but I think that this was the best Raw since WrestleMania. I'll go back as far as to say this is the best Raw since around the Royal Rumble.
I don't agree with that.
Because I thought that Raws leading up to WrestleMania were real turds. Like, I really enjoyed Raw last night. I thought that it was a great show. I thought that there were boring moments, but you're going to have that in 3 hours. As far as the 3 hour show goes,
no,
I like what they're doing for SummerSlam.
There were great Raws in April that I feel like were better than this. I still feel like we're working with a limited roster since they split, and they're trying to get a whole lot of new stuff over at once. But I will say the writing last night was very productive and well thought out, and I've got thoughts on that as we get through this. So let's start at the top. Going back to the 3 hour thing for a second, one of my big complaints about the 3 hour show is how many highlight reels we are shown throughout the night. Raw started with a highlight reel, which was kind of different. They dabbled with this a few years ago. This may have been the time when you weren't really following very closely, but they would for 4 weeks, they'd start Raw with a deep voice announcer doing a highlight reel. This one's almost felt like a music video with fast moving segments with EDM music behind it. It felt very different, but I feel like it's going to be a standard start for the show. What did you observe from that?
It's okay. I kind of like how they're doing it. They're giving you a recap, kind of like last time on Game of Thrones, and then you get up to speed on everything that's going to go on, and then they give it to you, and then you go into the show. I mean, it's okay. They're just trying something new. I didn't hate it.
I'm more offended by the ones that happen in hour 2 recapping hour 1 as opposed to recapping last week.
Yeah, because there's no wrestling fan that just jumps in and goes, you know what, I'm just going to watch the last hour.
Exactly, and I feel like we're catering to those people that I'm not even sure exist in high numbers, really, those ones that you mentioned. So I agree, but it is almost like a last week on Game of Thrones kind of thing, which is fine. Another thing that felt weird is definitely different, and I want to get your take on this. The women got the show started, which, I can't recall a Raw ever starting with a women's program.
They would have had to have been dead last week to not realize that Sasha Banks was the hot hand.
Right.
If they're going to play the hot hand, and that's what they're really going to do, then kudos, because that's what they did. Like, I don't know if they had always planned on that happening, or if they just looked and said, you know what, that was the most genuine, real moment, real connection we had with our fan base last week. Let's kick the show off with her. Either way, good for them. I thought that was a cool way, and I liked what they did with it. I liked bringing out Jericho and Charlotte, and Enzo shows up out of nowhere, and you know how I feel about Enzo and Cass. I get fired up.
They did have a nice build when the guys kind of came out to assist them and add to that feud. I thought it was good, and it does feel like over the past several months, what they've done with that whole division it's night and day. It's night and day.
Yeah, and I like that they put the importance for the women on the wrestling and the mic skills, and not like, oh, you look great in a bikini.
Right, which is, are you comparing it to SmackDown?
Yeah, I mean, SmackDown, unfortunately, you're right, they're divas.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I almost wish that they'd almost save Becky Lynch from that nightmare.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so I guess we both thought that was positive. I think it's hard to look at the women's division right now as anything but a positive compared to where they've been. They're doing so many good things, especially on Raw. So 2 thumbs up for them. And
by the way, to the Jericho haters now, I love the role that he's in. I think he's doing great. He is the perfect heel for what he needs to do right now. He is putting people over, taking shots at Sasha, and then taking shots at Enzo. I like that feud. I like Jericho's role. I know that you guys have debated that in the past, but I think that he's doing a good job.
I don't know that Jericho is elevating these stars, but I don't feel like that's his fault. Like, I don't think that Jericho is calling his own shots the way that other viewers do. I know I've gotten into this debate a few times with some of our viewers. I don't think that he's the guy who's like, I'm winning this or I'm not, or I'm walking. Like, that's not what he does. I think him beating AJ Styles at WrestleMania was just not his call, personally.
Well, and for me, putting someone over isn't losing to them necessarily. It's putting on a good program and an interesting rivalry for 6 to 7 weeks leading up to a pay-per-view. And that's what he does. Whether he wins it or loses it at the end is inconsequential as far as I'm concerned, because it's all rigged. I don't care who wins or who's written to win. I just want it to be interesting. He's making people look interesting. I think that's good.
Yeah, people are leaving feuds with him stronger than when they went in, and that's the important thing, I feel like, with him. So, and speaking of this, so they bring out Kevin Owens for commentary, who, by the way, is really finding a home behind that commentary desk. Anytime you put him there, it's explosive. My only question is, Are they leading him to a feud with Enzo? Is that what you took from that? Like,
well, I took it from that a little bit, but then in later in the show when they're interviewing Jericho, and Jericho says, "Well, someone's got my back," and then he didn't really have anybody. I thought one of the funnier moments of the night when Owens came out and he was like, "You just made up that name. That's not a real person, but that's okay because I have your back."
That was a funny segment.
So now it looks like it's going to be Owens and Jericho versus Enzo and Cass with a loose affiliation with Sasha and Charlotte, and I'm in.
Yeah.
I am in.
I agree. So after that, there was, I wanted to mention, anytime they have enhancement talent out there, anytime there's job guys out there, I want to mention their names because I'm so happy that they're there.
Okay.
So Evan Anderholm was the name of the guy who did the job for Strowman last night.
He got crushed.
I'm so happy jobbers are there. I will say I hope that they're used for more than the same. Because last week it was Strowman and Nia Jax who put on matches with the jobbers, and this week it was the same stars, different jobbers. I'm hoping that more people work with the enhancement talent as opposed to just Strowman and Jax.
Right. It will eventually only weaken them if they're the only ones fighting screwballs.
But two jobbers a night in a 3-hour show, that makes me very happy. For the past 2 weeks in a row, I like the return to that. It just feels retro having squash matches.
Yeah, I love it. And I think they could do squash matches with Rusev too if they wanted to. There are a lot of people that would benefit, I think, from just squishing people.
Yeah, And then I even noted that there were 2 jobbers who picked up a victory in the next match until I realized that was the Shining Stars. And I had to delete my note. I still don't get what the appeal is there. I'm surprised they're still trying to make this happen. This is a fumble waiting to happen.
It's not waiting to happen. It's on the ground. Just nobody's jumping for it.
It's already happened. I think you're right.
I think it's a wreck. I think it's not good. It is what it is. We'll have to ride this out and just pray it doesn't gain any steam.
Yeah. Another thing that jumped out at me as being odd. Again, I mean, I know how it all works, but if we're trying to present a believable product here, and we're supposed to be viewing SmackDown as competition for Raw, why 3 times in the show, once per hour, is there a 60-second advertisement for SmackDown?
I thought the same thing, but you can't blame them. They're trying to push both of their products.
I know. I know. And I mean, I guess you could argue it's USA maybe doing that. I'm going to not overthink that one.
Cole. I don't want Michael Cole telling me what's coming up on SmackDown the next night. I don't want that at all.
Did that happen?
That did not happen.
Okay.
But if they just run a commercial, they could buy ad time, I guess, in the real world. I mean, I feel like you got to suspend disbelief on that one.
Yeah, I know you have to. I know that won't go away, but it's just like it's a head scratcher. Like, if we're supposed to buy this, why are you feeding us this? But okay, so there was that. Is Mark Henry on the retirement tour?
Yes.
But haven't we been saying that for the past 3 years?
Yeah, I thought that this was... Well, didn't they say this is his last Royal Rumble? So I assume he's done
before
January.
Did they say that, or did the internet say that?
I feel like I don't know. I get the two confused.
Yeah, me too. I don't remember either.
I don't know what's reality anymore. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that's his last Rumble. That's why they crowbarred him into that. It seems like a retirement tour. It's a nice spot for him to be in. What he did, and if we're going to talk about that for a second, I think much like you feel, John Cena is at his best, away from the main event, putting over people. I don't know if this is where I like him the most, but I'm glad they're not shoving Roman Reigns down our throats anymore. It looks like he's got a U.S. title scene he's going to do. I can handle him in the middle of the card.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I didn't stop and think about it, but you're right. As long as he's not in the title picture, which is the first week he hasn't been, that's a better spot for him. I agree with you. The booze will start to taper off, I think. Yeah.
Putting him in a program with the very unlikable Rusev is going to help him because they're not making him the guy anymore. They're just making him a good guy, just a good wrestler, a superstar, blah, blah, blah.
Now the guy they're forcing down our throats is Finn Bálor.
But it's not a force. People are willingly taking it.
Yeah, because it's so new right now. But I guess I'm trying to figure out how I want to word this because I want to make sure that he earns some. Now, I know everyone's going to jump on me. I know he's had an independent career that I'm not aware of. And I know that he's an incredible. I mean, I've seen him in NXT on the pay-per-views, on their specials at least. And I know that he's a capable guy. But let's make sure he has the legs as a WWE superstar before we project him to be this Hogan-like, Austin-like, Cena-like presence.
I think you're right, and I think that they will. In fact, if you're okay, I'll lock in right now.
Okay, sure.
I'm locking in on a SummerSlam main event.
Already? All right, sure. What do you got?
Seth Rollins is going to win. I mean,
I think I agree with that one.
Yeah, Seth Rollins is going to win the Universal Championship. So Finn Balor is going to be is put in the limelight, but he's not going to be handed the gold. So I think you don't have to worry about it too much.
Yeah, I
could lock in on all 3 main events if we had time today. I could easily. The SummerSlam, I'm picking that card. I'm going to get 100% on it.
All right, go ahead. Finish the other 2.
Okay. So what's the one in the main event for SmackDown?
You've got Ziggler and Ambrose.
Yeah, it's going to be Ziggler's going to win it, and I'm going to hate it, but Ziggler's going to win it. Ziggler's going to win it, and I'm going to hate it, and then Brock Lesnar's going to win. Locking in, done.
Okay, I haven't thought about the Raw main event. I'm not going to comment on that this week. SmackDown, I disagree. I think Ambrose is going to retain. Lesnar, I got to think about that one too.
All right, I'm telling you, I'm just crazy. I may regret locking in on Ziggler.
Yeah, well, locking in means you can't change over the next month. So you want to lock in on those.
Can I just unlock? Can I just lock in on Seth Rollins right now?
Oh, okay, sure. So Rollins is the one you're locking in on.
I'm locking in on Rollins.
Okay, understood.
So and that's to do nothing else but to make you feel better about the fact that I don't think they're going to force Finn Bálor down our throats. I don't think they're going to do it yet.
Okay, fair enough. And again, I'm not opposed to it. It's just like the Enzo and Cass thing. Like, I just want to make sure they're as good as everyone says that they are. Before,
and they are.
Yeah, I just want to. Let's just make sure. I've seen him have one match on the main roster. I guess 2 matches technically. So let's just make sure the juice is worth the squeeze here.
We can do that. The first Finn Bálor match I ever watched was the one against Kevin Owens at that Beast is the East special.
Uh-huh.
That was a great match.
Every match I've seen from him has been great. But I mean, it's still the number of matches I've seen you can count on one hand. That's my point. So after that, I wanted to mention actually the Darren Young segment.
No, this is all you. I went to the bathroom.
I know. It's okay.
It's all you.
There was one little thing outside of the match I wanted to mention that is so important, and this was happening all throughout the show, and this is where I want to give the Raw writing team a big thumbs up. They're doing little things. For example, just a quick passing by in the hallways, Darren Young passing Titus O'Neil, who, by the way, is a huge friend of this show, the Rob's Radio Show with Cat Michaels. He's been on, and we had a great time with Titus O'Neil. He just said, we're making Darren Young great again. When was Darren Young great to begin with? And what I want to point out about this is they're giving us little things to make us see them want to fight, whereas a month ago, they would have just put them in the ring together. And now there's little things like that took 2 minutes, not even, that made you want to see them fight. And before it was lazy, and now they're just kind of giving you a little something to make you want to see them fight. So kudos.
It's starting to feel like Attitude Era type writing, and I like it. A lot more backstage, a lot more of this and that.
Yeah.
And they make these guys want to fight each other, and they make us want to see it. And I think that having Raw pay-per-views and SmackDown pay-per-views, I'm assuming that's what they're going to do, every other month other than the SummerSlams and the big ones, that's going to be great because sometimes they'll give you like 8 weeks to build a pay-per-view.
Oh, well, I think, okay, that would be great, but I don't think that's the way it's going to work. I do think there's going to be brand-specific pay-per-views, but I think there'll be like one a month instead of like this month will be Raw, this month will be SmackDown. I think there'll be one each for both of them each month.
Oh, I hope that's not true.
That's what I hope too. I don't want it that way. That's too much.
Well, if they do it my way, it'll be perfect. If they do it, if everybody just did what I wanted all the time, everything would be good.
Exactly. I want to but to go along with that, every match last night also had a purpose. I felt like it either progressed the storyline or it resolved something, even if it was just Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. Like everything either had an angle to it or no match was just filler, in my opinion. Everything did something. Everybody looked good, and a lot of people look good, whether they win or lose. New Day beats the Club. The Club comes out looking more vicious than they have since they showed up. I think that was amazing. Sami Zayn loses to Seth Rollins, and he still ends up looking strong. Mm-hmm.
It was good booking last night. It was a good Raw, and the end of it, I mean, it was amazing. I hate Randy Orton, and I loved the end of Raw, and it made me kind of be like, whoa, I'm into this now.
I have 2 more notes before we get to that segment. I wanted to shout out Ariel Monroe, who was the jobber for Nia Jax. I just want to say their name. And then I do not care at all about Jinder Mahal. Of all the talent we're rating from 10 years ago, why are we picking the Jinder Mahals of the world?
It's such a wreck. I want this to go somewhere for Heath Slater. I find myself pulling for Heath Slater. Why did they pick Jinder Mahal?
I can't put that one together. That was my only note about that. Now let's talk about Orton and Lesnar that wrapped the show up. Go ahead. Where were you?
Heyman, 5 stars again.
Oh, he's always awesome.
Brock Lesnar, nobody can just stand there like him and tell a story. And he benefits from having Heyman be his mic man, but, I mean, it's just those two in the ring together, it's just so dynamic, and it's so great. And it could have ended, and I believe that it was just going to end with throwing down the gauntlet. You get to see Brock, and then end of show. And then good camera work, because I don't see Orton coming until it's too late. Boom, right mid-sentence. It's never going to happen. You're never going to get him in the position to get one. And bop, boom, the beast is on his face.
Yeah.
I mean, that was awesome.
That was really awesome. The one thing, my only complaint about it is seeing SmackDown stars, quote-unquote, invade Raw is not special this early. It probably won't feel special ever. And I don't like when the commentators try to make it feel like it is when, just 2 weeks ago, Orton would have been on Raw anyway. But you're right. The execution and the way that ending of the show played out was fantastic. It was.
I mean, for him to not be allowed at Raw doesn't make much sense since he's booked to fight at SummerSlam against a Raw guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just not allowed to see him, I guess, until we get to SummerSlam. That's okay. I didn't mind it. He invades it, and then Stephanie and Mick come out, and they're screaming and yelling, and it was just a great way to end it. And the look on Heyman's face, that guy is so awesome.
Yeah, and I like I like the escape through the crowd, and the crowd was the crowd actually did kind of make it seem special, almost like a like when the NWO guys would go through the crowd, and Orton ripped his shirt off because, the crowd was just feeling it. The execution was pretty flawless.
It was flawless. Whole thing. But Orton should not get it twisted. I mean, he's important. He's gonna make this a good fight, and it's awesome. But at the end of the night, when he was standing at the top of those stairs, and the crowd and the fans are surrounding him, and everybody's screaming and yelling, and it's an amazing moment, I counted 8 Suplex City shirts standing beside him.
That's true.
He was surrounded by Brock Lesnar fans, and so it is what it is.
Absolutely. So is there anything else you want to mention before we close this one out?
I hate Dolph Ziggler.
We'll talk about that more in our next episode because I'll hopefully have SmackDown watched by then. In the meantime, are you planning on watching tonight? Is that your plan?
I do plan on watching tonight. I'm gonna give SmackDown till SummerSlam. I feel like I owe them that much.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We'll probably watch it over the next few days. Maybe Thursday we can record one for SmackDown. But thank you for coming on the show again, Jer. I do appreciate it.
Glad you don't hate me yet. This is perfect.
And your contributions are very much appreciated for myself, the Rob, and my tag team partner in podcasting, Jerry Valeri. Thank you again. We'll be back later on this week with another edition of Post to Post.
Dolph Ziggler sucks.